They say growth can only happen outside your comfort zone. So, I've decided that's where I'll spend this year. Now, what will I be doing? Well,
Alright, so here's the thing. The plan for this week's video was for me to do a day in the life in Cuba. I've never done a day in the life video, so that was going to be the experience. So, unfortunately, while in Cuba, I got super sick. There was times I was begging God to take me because it was that bad. The sickness just was enveloping my body very quickly. So instead of, dwelling on that, instead of trying to dig through that, I just was like, you know what? Let's still do a Cuba video, but let's talk about what it was like and what was that experience like. So a little bit about me. If you don't know, I am a communications director for Agape Flights, which is a nonprofit that helps support mission partners in the Caribbean. So every now and then we take trips down to the Caribbean, meet with some of our mission partners and try to help them out where we can, bring some money, bring some food, bring whatever is needed down there. So this trip was specifically for Cuba. So we went down there. We left on a Saturday at 4 a.m. Well, I got up at 4 a.m., but we left at about 5:30. Got to Cuba around, I want to say it was like noonish. This is when it gets interesting. So we get to Cuba. This is my second time in Cuba. So this isn't even a first time experience in Cuba, but this is my second time in Cuba. Our CEO is there with me, and we have a small group of people, and me and my CEO are the only ones who've ever been to Cuba. So he's like, Jack, you get in the back of the line just in case any problems happen. I'll be in the front of the line. So if anything happens past that point, we're secured on both sides. Well, everyone gets through. It's the gentleman in front of me. It's time to go through. He's actually one of the only people who speaks fluent English. I see him get pulled out of line. Now, if you don't know Cuba, Cuba is a communist country. So when he gets pulled out of line, I start to panic. So I go to the one of the guards there, and I was like, excuse me, what's going on? Why is he being pulled? And they're like, random check. And I was like, okay, can I go with him? This is his first time. And they lost their minds. They're like, no Americans. And I was like, that's my guy. Like, I got to go with him. They're like, no, get back in line. So I'm like, okay. And I was like, I guess I can't do anything. So I get back in line. I go through my security checkpoint, which is basically a Cuban official, basically goes through all your paperwork, wants to know what you do. We were bringing in supplies. We were bringing in solar lanterns, some books. It was an encouragement trip, so food as well. There was a mixed bag of what we were bringing. We brought together, because there was 8 of us, we brought about 700 pounds of supplies into the country. So I talked to the guy the guard who's basically controls if I enter or if I have to go back, and just talked to him, spoke very nicely, told him I was here, on a tourist visit, so that, we don't create any alarms. We're just trying to be respectful. And so he just was like, yeah, cool. And let me right through. I get through that checkpoint. I see the rest of my group, and they're like, where's our other guy? And so I was like, he got pulled aside. They said random check, and they wouldn't let me get through. They lost their minds on that. So we're all a little panicky. We all get through our second security checkpoint to get to the point where we can pick up our baggage. And so once we get through that, we see our guy get back into the line for the second security checkpoint. So we all kind of catch our breaths. We're like, okay, everyone's through. We get through all that. We're going to go pick up our 700 pounds of luggage, not including our personal stuff. So we're waiting. We get all our baggage. We look like a hot American mess. We just all have so many bags, and we're all wheeling out. Again, our CEO's at the front. I'm in the back. Everyone's going through. Boom, no problem. it comes to me, and I look and I'm like, why is there like writing on my bag? And I was like, oh wait, that's not good. They look, and the security guard, the person who was at the checkpoint was like, no, and just pushed me to the side and it looked like it was like more of like an interrogation area. And I was like, which bag did I get? What did I get? My stuff that threw up red flags. So I'm in this line, which is really just 3 other Cuban nationals just waiting to get inside. They must have had something that threw up red flags. So I'm just sitting there, those 3 go through. 20 minutes go by again on this, and I'm just like, what's going on? So thank goodness Apple just released their translator for the AirPods Pro. So I was like, you know what? No better time to test these babies out. All my whole group's gone. They can't see me whatsoever. That they are outside because they passed that final security checkpoint, and you aren't allowed to see. You're not allowed to come back. So I'm essentially on my own at this point. And so I'm just sitting there, and I put these AirPods in. I click them on because that's what you got to do. You got to click them on. And so I'm just sitting there. I don't think they know what these can do because it's brand new. And so I'm just sitting there listening, and they're not even saying anything about me. And I'm just like, okay, I gotta say something. And I took 3 years of Spanish in high school and 2 years in college. I gotta know how to put a full sentence together to ask questions. So I go up to them. I have all this great knowledge. I'm ready to just pour out to them. And I just go, what's happening in English? Because I'm just like, oh, I don't know how to form a sentence correctly. And they're like, they just kind of waved me off. And so I just kind of sat there and I was like, it's been 30 minutes. What am I supposed to do? And so after a while, like just a random woman security comes up to me and is like, what are you doing? And I say, I don't know. I was pushed aside. They read something on my tags. And so she looks at my bag, looks at the writing, and she said, come. So she pulls me into another room. They take my bag, they put it through another scanner. This is when it gets funny. Funny now, not funny back then. They pull out a book. It is my CEO's wife's book. It's a Christian book about, better living, how to live a life better for yourself. And she pulls it out, looks at me very angrily and says, manifesto. And I'm like, no, book about having a better life. This is a brand new book. I haven't even read it. So I was like, oh, I really hope I'm telling the truth because I'm just guessing because she's a great author. She's written like 4 other books, but I'm just like, no, it's just about a living better life. And they're like, no, manifesto. And I was like, read it. I don't, it's in Spanish, by the way. So I'm like, I can't read it. I don't know what the title is saying. And so she picks it up. She's looking at it and she's like, this manifesto. Like that's all I'm understanding. She's like saying a bunch of words and then manifesto. And I was like, no manifesto. At this point, I'm sweating because I am terrified. Again, you hear all these stories and you're just like, oh, I'm going to a Cuban prison. I'm never going to see my family again. And so I was just like, no, a manifesto, a book about living better life. I'm doing thumbs up. Like that's supposed to help in this instance. I probably look like this giant just puddle. Like I'm not to the point of tears, but like I think if you would have given me another couple minutes, I would have started crying because I was terrified in this moment. So it would have been funny for them because they're all like under 5'10", so they see the 6'7" giant American come in and just bawling his eyes out because he feels like he's about to go in prison. But I finally was able to string some words together. I showed them, like, I spoke, which is again, Apple. Thank you, Apple. I spoke into my iPhone and it translates it into Spanish. And so I was like, this is a book about living a better life. This is nothing about creating a manifesto. And so I showed it to them. They looked at it. They kind of laughed, like they went, huh. And I was like, good. And they're like, what is this? And so they pull out one of the solar lanterns, and I was like, it's solar lantern. And when you're told you're going through security in Cuba, basically you're told, hey, there's a chance that you might have to bribe these guards to get through. And so I was like, do you want one? And they're like, you giving to me? And I was like, yeah, it's yours. Good. And they just take it, they put it on a table, they write something on the slip, and they just wave me off. Don't say a word, just wave me off. And I was like, okay, I'm not gonna question it. So I throw my bags back onto my cart and I hustle out. I like don't even make eye contact with the guard who stopped me and waved me in. I just kind of walk right past them. I see the door. I see the doors opening, and I'm like, freedom. I can see my friends. I can see my coworkers that I get to reunite with. And so I'm like so close. And then another guard stops right in front of me, and I'm like, okay. And I was like, okay, like what's going on? And they're like just holding their hands out. And I'm like, at this point, I'm like, what? I don't know what. Do you want money? I just want to go. I've been up since 4 a.m. Like, I gotta find something to do. Like, what are we doing? And so, finally, they were just asking for my baggage tickets. And so I was like, oh, thank God. Okay. So I hand them that. The door opens once more. I walk outside. Everyone's just sitting there watching me. And then they're like, what happened? So I tell them the whole story. We all laugh. Oh, so I finally get into the van. We're finally into Cuba. And boy, let me tell you, I love Cuba. Cuba is one of my favorite countries. It is so beautiful, but it is also so broken. That country, last time I was there was a year ago. Last time I was there, there was officers on every street corners. You felt safe. The trash wasn't that bad. This time, in less than a year, everywhere you go, there's trash in the streets. There's no guards anymore. Last time, people didn't feel comfortable talking about the oppression that they were facing. Now, everyone's talking about the oppression that they're facing. If you ask me, I feel like Cuba's on the brink of finally breaking free, finally finding the freedom, finally understanding what direction they're gonna go government-wise. But just getting back to the country, it's just such a beautiful country. The people just love you. Like, it is so genuine. And it's something that I repeat to anyone who will listen to me is like, the difference between living in America and living there is here we have everything. There, they have nothing but the love of Jesus, and they cling to that. They hold on to that because that is all they have. And that is such a beautiful analogy of life is when the more you have, the more distance you become, whether or not you believe in God or not, you get more distance from your people, those you love, with the more stuff you have. And it reminds me every time I go down there. So we get there, finally get in the van. I see the coolest guy ever. I'll put up a picture of this guy. His name's Daniel. He's been our driver 2 times since when we're down there because we have no clue where we're going. We can't read these Spanish signs. Again, I do my best to translate, but the coolest thing about this guy is like me and him just have this connection. And I feel like everyone in our group will probably say the same thing, but it's just so true is when you have a person like him who just smiles and just says Jesus to you and just constantly just holds on to you, it is a blessing. And just being around him, getting to know him, getting to know his family, it was one of those things like when you find a friend who is a brother, even though it's not a birth brother, you find that connection. He's one of those people for me. And I just love getting to joke with him because, again, his English isn't so great. My Spanish isn't so great. So when we try to talk, we're always just laughing to each other, and it's always just a kaleidoscope of chaos. But man, like we still know what we're trying to say to each other, and we just laugh. And like you can't help to just smile when you're around him because his smile is so contagious and so genuine. Like there was a point where we had a flat tire and we had 700 pounds of luggage and our additional stuff in the back of this van. And so he wasn't able to jack up the jack high enough. And so we're just walking around trying to find rocks and something to just lift the van up higher so we can jack it up and put the new tire on. And the whole time the guy's smiling. Like and again, it's like 95 degrees out. It's probably like 105 real feel. Like guy's smiling. Like that is genuine happiness. That is someone who's found joy and has clung to it for his entire life. And I learned so much from them just by their actions. Like, you don't need to understand the language of someone when their love and their joy supersedes that. Like, it's just one of those crazy cool moments of life. And so, that happened. This was all happening in the first day. We stopped and got some eat. Our tire went flat. He popped it up, got it to go. We got to our hotel, gorgeous hotel. We met with some of our mission partners. We got to laugh, cry, and just bond with some of these people. And so that was our first day. That was Saturday. Sunday we got up. I got to go to an authentic Cuban church, and they asked us to come talk, and that was awesome getting to speak with them. Of course, they loved seeing our group. You know, I'm 6'7". We have another guy who's probably like 6'5", 6'3", and another 6'3" guy. So we're all these giant Americans, and so they really enjoyed that. And then the service was 4 hours long. I was like, there's no way ever a church in America could have a 4-hour service and still thrive. It was such a cool experience. Like, again, I know some people who watch these videos aren't Christians. I apologize. This might be a little Jesus heavy for you, but like, I just want you to understand how cool it is. The God I get to serve is I got to see people who have nothing give everything. And for 4 hours, they're just pouring their hearts out for Jesus. It's not a performance. You know, I love mixing sound. I love, the technical aspect of it. There's no sound mixing. Everything's just plugged into a board and blaring at you. And I'm like 5 feet from the speaker for 4 hours. So I had a massive headache, but I didn't care because it was just, I got 4 hours of just hearing people show their love, not only for Jesus, but for others. And that was special for me. And, again, this is me going to critique the American church. Is like, it came to the time for them to tithe, and I'm gonna tell you, there wasn't one empty seat that didn't come up and drop an envelope, and that was a kick in the gut. We had a guy on our trip who told us, the average is 3% in American churches, and I was like, that was 100% turnout to give. That was so cool. That was so genuinely, just genuine. I keep using that word, but it was so true. And I'm telling you, when I tell you that the head of oncology in Cuba, like the chief cancer doctor, makes $20 a month, that just shows you that the giving that they do is above and beyond. They love Jesus, and they believe in the mission of Jesus so much that they will give no matter how much money they make. And again, it was just a bunch of gut punches right into my stomach. It was just like, man, I complain about giving every week, but here they are. They do it with a joyful heart, a smile on their faces, and they don't have anything to give. And I'm just like, come on, what is wrong with me? And again, that's the whole purpose of these trips, is not to only encourage our missionaries, but to remind me of what our mission is with the organization I serve. And so I love that. We did a 4-hour church service. We went and got some lunch. Again, the food's incredible. You could eat at the nicest restaurant in Cuba. We did with like 10 of us, and it was $100, $130 with tip. Like, money is your brain can't comprehend it, because it took us all week to understand, like, what the heck? Why is it so cheap to live? And it's like, there's no money here. That's the reality that they live with. And so after we had lunch, we started game planning for the rest of the week. We went to the countryside, more of the beach side, to see one of the coolest pastors ever. His name's Leandro, and this is the guy. If you ever hear me talk about my Cuba trips, this is the guy that I just always say, like, guy doesn't speak one word of English except for "I love you." And so the last time I was on this trip, I tried to translate from Spanish to English, English to Spanish. Again, my Spanish isn't that great. And so he could see like my brain just being like trying to run at 500 miles an hour. And he said, brother, I love you. I love you. And he just, that's the genuineness. And I keep saying that word, but I truly want you to understand, like, I never felt like these people were fake. It was all honesty the entire trip. So once we went there, we ate, we broke bread, we spoke with them. I got to pray for him, which was an incredible experience. After that point, we went left. We went home and recharged. Next morning, I get up. At this point, I've been feeling great. You know, it's hot. It's very hot there. And AC is very rare because their grid was built in the 1950s. So some of the places in the country only run power for 2 hours a day, and that's from like 3 to 5 a.m. So again, power is very, very rare there. People have to wait, 6-7 hours just to fill up their car with gas. There's a lot of discrepancies, unfortunately, in the country of Cuba right now. So that fast forwards us to Monday morning. I get up, feeling great still, go and have breakfast. I eat a piece of fruit, and I'm just like, this fruit's got a weird taste to it. I eat it because in Cuba, if you put it on your plate, you got to eat it. So didn't want to disrespect anyone. So I finished it. I ate the weird, possibly rancid piece of fruit. And we go on our way. We're going to our next location, our next mission partner to work with. On the drive there, it was a 30-minute drive. I'm like, something's not right. Something ain't right. So at this point, I decide that, okay, I need to lie down. And luckily, the place we went had some AC, so I laid down there. It just went from bad to worse. Stomach was upset, headache, achiness. I'm like, this is the flu. This is the flu. The flu's starting to take over my body, and I'm like, oh man, I'm in a country. This isn't good. So I'm like trying to power through. I'm trying to drink just anything, fluids to help push it out. It's not getting worse. So at this point, I love our CEO. He was like, I'm taking you to a hotel. You need to rest. Let's try to just get it out of your system. Maybe you just need to release it. Well, nothing comes out. I go back to the hotel. I'm just laying in bed. I'm miserable. I'm just like, man, what I wouldn't do for a Gatorade. Because when I tell you guys, there is not one shop that has Gatorade or Dayquil. I'm telling you, this is the kind of sickness that I was like, okay, if I just had some Dayquil, it's some Gatorade, I could power through this. They don't have medicine there. Daniel's wife has been battling cancer herself, and she has not had medicine since July. So you can understand when I say that they don't have Dayquil, they don't have Gatorade where I could just go get and try to feel better. It's just not available. And so I was just miserable. So Monday bled into Tuesday. I'm not gonna tell you what happened Monday night, but it was not pretty sight. And just shout out to my boy Todd. That dude was a trooper. Didn't complain at all about what was happening to my body. I'm in our hotel room. He just was always a happy guy, always willing to help me and willing to bring me something to make me feel better. So I appreciate him. So Monday bled into Tuesday. Tuesday was so awful. I had so much feverish aches. Like I would try to turn the AC up as high as possible just so I could almost sweat it out. And as ironic as that is. And so, as you could tell, I'm still kind of fighting it. So after Tuesday, we were planning to fly back on Wednesday. So I missed everything basically from Monday afternoon all the way to Wednesday morning. So all that cool activities, all of the things I had planned. Tuesday was the day I was planning to do the day of my life in Cuba, but obviously that was shut down. My focus was on just trying to keep my body awake and alive so I could make it back to the States on Wednesday. So Wednesday morning comes, I'm probably feeling about 30%. I'm just on the struggle bus. And so I get up, I just take a hot shower, take some homeopathic pills that I was given, and it actually kind of helped a little bit. And I just try to power through because I'm like, I just got to get on that plane. I just got to get on the plane. That's all I got. And I don't want to give the appearance of I'm too sick because I don't want them to nah, you got to stay in the country. And so I'm just basically keeping a sweat rag, just dabbing my face off so I don't ever look sweaty. And so we get to the gate, get through all security, no problems. I'm just sitting there. I'm just playing a game on my phone to keep my mind distracted. We get to the gate, get through all of the customs, and get onto the plane. And I'm just like, oh, finally. And so I was one of the first on the plane, so I sat in the very front row, right next, and a large Cuban guy sat at the window seat, and I sat at the aisle seat, and I was like, no sane person will sit in the middle of us, so we can both be comfortable. I was wrong. a guy who's maybe 4'8" on a good day, 120 pounds, looks at me with his biggest smile, and he's like says something in Spanish. I'm assuming he's like, "Is this seat taken?" And I'm just like, "No." And I'm just like, I just kind of look at it with like just this sick face. Was like, "No." And he's just like, "Oh, okay." So he just basically hops into the seat. Me and the guy at the window just kind of look at each other, because it's like we have that big guy connection, and we're just like, "Is this guy for real?" And so I just kind of laugh, and so I just put my headphones on, and I'm just like, okay, now I made it to the flight. I just got to make it through the flight. So the flight's only like an hour and 2 minutes. So, you know, I quickly asked for a ginger ale, because it's the first time I have any ginger ale when I'm sick. So I was very grateful for that. I drank that like in maybe 0.2 seconds. It was so good. It felt so good on my stomach. And so I was starting to come back. And so finally, we land. I'm like, this is those moments when people get off a plane and kiss the ground. That was very real for me. It made me realize how much I love my country. I love the free access to medicine, the access to Gatorade. Like, I just was like, man, I can't understand why people would want to complain about this country when we have access to so many incredible things. Like, yes, there are some broken areas in our system. Yes, we're not a perfect country, but boy, does it feel good to have access to stuff that can make me feel better when I'm sick. And so I get off the plane. I walk through, because I'm almost sprinting at this point, because I'm first in line. I'm just like, no, I'm getting through border security. I'm getting through customs. I gotta get through this. It's my last hurdle. And so I'm like first in line, and like it was the first time I can remember smiling in like 3 days, when the guy's like, "Welcome to America. God, what was the purpose of your trip?" And so went through that whole process, flying colors, was let back into my country, and that kind of leads to today. And so, you know, unfortunately I wasn't able to do a day in the life of Cuba, but I was able to give you guys a little bit of a glimpse of this incredible trip into this incredible country that I got to visit, that is Cuba. Now, I know this video has been incredibly long, and I've been talking for almost 30 minutes. So if you stayed to watch through this and hear that story, like, I'm so grateful. I'm just so grateful that anyone is on this journey with me, to just doing stupid, silly things for a full year and just expanding my horizons by trying new things. I'm just so grateful for each and every one of you that sits through this. You know, I know there's some of you who are going to be like, this was the worst one yet. This was just Jack talking for 30 minutes about a trip and him being sick. Ooh, like, yeah. But I just wanted you guys to know that I'm just so grateful for you guys to continue to be pushing me just by watching this. So I don't know what else to say, but because my phone has been blowing up this whole time, and it's hard to record on my phone because I didn't have the energy to pull out my real camera. So it's being recorded on my phone. So again, thank you, and I will see you guys next week. I promise it's going to be a more interactive video, but hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. I'll see you next time.